Ocean Hills Watercolor Group demo of leaves. Hi, my name is Charlene. Let's get started. Here's our setup. We have the drawing that we traced earlier. We have our reference photo, paintbrush, water, paints, paper towel, and a kneaded eraser. Sometimes when we trace, the lines are a bit dark and you may not want to have your lines show through your painting. So what we do is we take the kneaded eraser. You can get these on Amazon or at Michael's, really cheap, couple bucks. And you just take it over. The idea is that it's not going to erase all of your lines. I'm just smushing it. That's a technical word. I'm smushing it across, actually rolling it with some pressure. That would be the definition of smushing across, so that it reduces the darkness of the tracing, so that when I paint it, it's not going to be quite so dark and it's showing through. And you can also just kind of push it down and rotate it a bit. There's different ways that you can use this eraser, but make sure you wrap it in some cellophane later or plastic wrap, because it will dry out. Okay, so we're ready to go. Now, let's activate our colors. For this one, I'm going to use a variety of colors, and I'm going to mix the colors. And so definitely a green, so I'll add some water to my green, and that's making a puddle and activating that color. I'm going to use quinacridone, burnt orange, and this blue is really cool. See what I did? I didn't wash off my brush properly, so I've got some blue and orange mixed together. So I'm going to take a paper towel and just blot that up and start again. Going to wash my brush clean my brush between puddles, grab some water, put it in my blue, and just mix that up and make a little puddle right here. If you have your puddles all done in advance, you can have consistency with color, and it won't be all kind of disjointed. Okay, and purple. Might do some red, but I'm just going to get them all. See, that purple is quite a powerful color, so you got to work hard at getting rid of the color. And here's red. And see, red's another powerful one. It stays for a long time. Now, note that these may not be the exact same colors that you have, but they're pretty close. Okay, now we're going to start on the top left because I happen to be right-handed. If you're left-handed, you might want to start on the top right. And that's because as you paint, you're going to be going, as a right-handed person, I'm going to be going this way. So if I start down here, I'm going to be smearing the ink upwards. So although, having said that, I'm going to leave these little guys to the end because I'm not quite sure what color I want those to be yet. So I'm going to take some water and I'm going to wet my leaf. This technique is called wet on wet, which you learned already in your previous class. And you can see it's got a little bit of color in there because I didn't clean my brush off completely, but that's okay because we're just going to take some green now. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to think about where would the light be on my page. I'm going to say my light's going to be on the right. So as the light comes down here, that will be shadows on this side. So my darker will be on the left. So see, as I just dot that green in here, the water takes it and moves it. And I'm just going to move it a little bit, but I love color. So I'm going to I want this to be just a little bit darker actually. I'm using the notebook that you received in class, the same paper. So, okay, I'm going to take, oh, I love the blue. I love mixing the blue in with the green. So I just cleaned my brush, got some water, went back into my puddle, my blue puddle. I'm going to just dot, oh, look at how that just goes so beautifully. Is that cool or what? Okay, so it's just making a really pretty mix of colors. And I might even have a little too much water in there. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to take a paper towel, just going to take that little bit, and I'm just going to soak some of that water up. I'm going to come back later, so not too worried about it. The other thing you can do is you can dry off your brush and put your brush in there and it'll soak up. The dry brush will soak up some of the paint and the water actually. Okay, so let's put a little bit of water again on this leaf here. And I'm going to do that again. And you can see that I put the darker on this side. I'm considering the blue to be darker. So I'm going to take my green again. I'm going to just dot the green in there. This time it's a little bit more vibrant. Yes, 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 yes. And then I'm going to do a little bit of blue. And you can see how, let's see. Oh, I'm going to take some blue again. You can see how the line of the leaf is here. So I'm just going to play around with putting the color on one side rather than on both sides. And that'll give some dimension on the leaf. And then I can always come back and I can just line through it with a darker color. Yeah, I really like that blue. I don't know if there's enough blue in that top one, so I'm going to put a little bit more while it's still wet. Give it a little more dimension. Same here. This one is really mixing in, so it could use a little, just taking some of that water out, getting a little bit more blue. And I'm going to stick with the darker being, the light's coming this way. I'm going to stick with the darker being up top here. Just a little bit, oh yeah, there we go. A little bit more blue on that side. Whew. Leaves don't all have to be green, you know. They can be all kinds of colors, although I'm going to take, while it's still wet, I'm going to take some more green. Put a little bit more green around in that, darker green around in that leaf. Remember, this is your painting, so you can make it whatever you want it to be. And this will dry really nicely. Okay, so let's do another. Let's see, more water here. Actually, I'm going to do two of them with water. And that way I can do two at the same time. I don't have to sort of stall. You want to make sure that the area that you're putting water in is fully covered with it. And you can tell just by looking at the side that it gleams. You know, if it's glistening, then you've covered it. But you can also see when you sort of look at it from an angle, you can see where you might have missed some pieces. You don't want to soak it. Like this one looks a bit soaking. And here you can see I put my brush too far in the water. So I have this dot of water that when I lift my brush up, it's going to go on to my leaf. That's something I do all the time. So I'm going to not put it completely in the water because that just ruins something that I'm trying to do. Okay, I'm a dabber, so. Okay, so let's do some more green. This one, let's see, this one I'm gonna do some green again. That's the base color that I want to use for these, because although not all leaves are green, many of them are, the base is green, or the ones I'm painting today, the base is green. And I'm going to do this base also. And this one here, I'm going to do some different, just need some more paint and go back into my puddle and pick up some more paints. Okay. And these two, I'm going to do some, I just want to do a little bit of, again, dab. You don't want to smush your brush down too hard. You want to make sure that you've got it flat when you're getting the water off and cleaning it. Okay, so back into the water, and then I'm going to use some red. Oh yeah, look at this. Oh my goodness, look at that. That is beautiful. That is gorgeous. And again, I'm just choosing to do just half of the leaf. But see how it just moves because you're doing wet on wet. When you go back into your puddle and pick up the paint on your brush, when you put it in, it just dabs. So I want to come in here a little bit. I'm gonna just do a little bit of a line. See how kind of moved the, yeah, look at that. That looks nice. See, I just kind of dried my brush and then put a little bit of a line down, just like where the vein goes on the, so I'm doing a little bit as well. And then this one, but you can do that with darker later. I'm just showing you that that's totally possible. If it's too wet, it'll just go right back in together like you see is happening there. Oh, that's okay. Okay, now let's see, more green. These guys down here. I'm gonna wet this. Now, I don't wanna go here because if I wet this one, these leaves are gonna blend all in together. The paint is gonna just be drawn right into the water. So I'm gonna let that dry first, and then I'm gonna go up here. I'm gonna do, this guy. See, this guy I didn't put any water on. This one, I forgot to wet it, which I do all the time as well. And so I'm just going to put wet on dry. And you can see, because my puddle is pretty wet, my brush was pretty wet already, it's given me a nice coverage. I like that a lot. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and I don't have to follow my reference photo. I can do whatever it is that I want to do with my leaves. I'm going to take a wee bit of quinacridone, burnt orange, and I'm using different colors, because I love the different colors, but also to show you that you don't have to stick with just all green and blue or all green and red. You can mix things up. And what I also really like to do is take this yellow, kind of go down the middle after. That's just my thing. Yeah, look at that. And it'll just kind of soak in, eh? And I'm putting it on the side sort of in the middle and on the side where it will lighten, where the light would be coming in. I'm just dabbing it with the tip of my brush. I don't want too much in there. Oh, that's so pretty. Okay, and let's keep going. Oh, I forgot again. So I'm going to go back, dry off my brush, put some water. Now you might even like it better without it being wet first. Sometimes painting wet on dry works better. Again, I'm going to do a couple of different, I'm going to do 3 this time. I'm going to match this guy over here. Okay, we're going to do the green. Look at, see how it just goes where it wants to go, and I'm pushing it around a bit. I'm going to push it around with the tip of my brush. And holding the brush is important too. Sometimes you want to use the tip of the brush, which I'm doing a lot on this because it's pretty small, and sometimes you want to use the belly of the brush, which I'll show you a little later. You can see I have that little blob of, and if you go outside the lines, who cares? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And if you don't like how your paper's sitting, just move it. You can move it around. Here we go. Here we go. See? Now this one, the water's already started to dry a bit. That's okay. Water is your friend. Water is your friend, certainly. That's why it's called watercolor. Although sometimes it definitely, most of the time, it definitely has a mind of its own. Okay, let's get, so I'm just going to match these guys up here. So I like that burnt orange. And remember, use whatever color you have, colors you have. They don't have to match these colors. And I'm putting it, the sun's coming from here, so that'll be a little lighter, lighter. Ooh, this one's going to be on this side because the light's coming from here, so we want this side to be lighter, don't we? Yes, we do. So I'm putting this one down here. Okay. I'm going to dry that brush off. I'm going to come back in here and see. Let's get a little bit more green. My edges are a bit rough here, so I'm just going to get some green in here, a little bit higher pigment. I'm going to use the tip of my brush, and I'm just evening out my edges on that side. See, there's some here too. Not that your leaves can't have rough edges, but this is, I like to kind of smooth that out sometimes. They look too rough. Oh, the colors. Okay. Yellow. I'm going to do more yellow down here because, again, remember, this is adding some depth and some light, because the shadow, again, is down here. The darker is there because the light is coming from here. So we're going to have the light around here. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, let's do this guy here. Did the water first. And there's another one that I really, I'm going to do this guy again in the same colors because I want to add purple later to show you just how awesome purple looks with the greens. I was kind of learning how to, testing how are the colors mixing together when you add them together, just dot them in there. And then I'm gonna do this purple right now because I love the purple. Oops, didn't have my purple and my blue mixed together in my puddle, you might see. So got to be careful where you do your puddles. And sometimes they make awesome colors when they mix and you didn't even think of it. So here's some purple. The purple and the green look so nice together. And remember, our light source is here. So I'm making it a little darker down on the bottom. And so I'm going to bring my yellow in again. Now the best way to figure out how are these colors going to blend together is to test them. And sometimes if I don't want to test it on my painting, I take a strip of paper, watercolor paper, and I mix them together. So here's a green. So I'm going to see, how does this green look? How much pigment do I need in there? And then I'm going to take another color. So we've used all of our colors up pretty much to show you, but here's a red. So let's see, how much red can I put in there? And that's probably way too thick. So I need more water in there. I just can push it around and see how it works before I actually use it. Yeah. So that's a really good item to have by as a piece of paper, watercolor paper you can play with. Okay, I'm going to do all of my leaves in green. Water. Oh, this guy here, look at this guy. I'm still waiting for this one to dry. I'm not totally sure that this one's dry. So here's a super big one. So maybe you can do a few different colors on this one. I'm going to go back here for a second, just for a second. Yeah. Okay, so green again. Move the paint around. Again, the light source is coming from here, so we'll do pretty dark down here. I think I'm going to use a whole bunch of different colors on this guy. Just don't be afraid to go back in and dab in your puddle and bring some more paint. Or mix up some more pigment, so if it's just not thick enough, you want it to be darker. More paint than water, you get a darker color. Oh, see, I went outside the line, so I'm just gonna bring it here because, you know, it's a leaf, and leaves can look all kinds of ways. Okay, now I'm gonna do some bleu. I'm gonna take some blue, which of course I've mixed with my purple, but I'm gonna do a new puddle of just blue. Here, I'm gonna put some blue in through here. I'm gonna just dab it in, let it run itself. Just let it run itself. And I love when the blue and the purple mix together. Oh yeah, that looks so cool. Take some more pigment and just run it down here. See how bright that is? Watercolor always dries lighter. So take that into consideration. You can see I have a big puddle there, so I'm going to take my dry brush and I'm just going to put it in there, wipe it on my paper towel, dry it off, put it in there. I'm going to smush this around a bit. I think I want a little bit more. I want my blue to kind of be on the side. And then I want a little more purple in here again. So I'm going to put some more purple down here. And I'm going to take some yellow. Yes. It's going to all blend in together. Is it going to look like a leaf that you've ever seen before? Maybe not, but it's going to be pretty. It's going to be your leaf. That's right. Okay. Now let's go over here, but I've got to be careful now not to swipe across here because you're going to end up with paint all over the place there where you didn't want it. But I can handle my brush over there. Okay, that might be a little too much water, so I'm going to suck some of that up. There we go. Then I'm going to get my green. I want it to look a bit, remember the shadow, right? So this side of this leaf is going to be darker than this one. Because the lighter part is up here. Which I hope that makes sense when you're painting down here. So there's lots of things you're looking for while you're painting, but you eventually just get used to it all. And you don't even think about it. Okay, let's put some blue in this guy. Yeah. Blue down here. There you go. I'll do maybe just a wee bit, just a touch of red in there. Yeah, just a touch of red. Okay, we're moving along. Okay, so we were talking about the parts of your brush. You've got the belly of your brush, which is this here, and then you've got the point of your brush. So I'm going to put some water down here with the belly of my brush. See how I'm just sort of holding it this way? And I could move my page this way. And then I'm going to lift it up a bit and use the point. And when you're going to use the belly of your brush, you want to make sure you've got lots of paint on the belly. And you just do that by putting the belly of the brush in your petal. And you soak it up. And let's see. Let's just put this down this way. Yeah. See? And I'm going to push it around using my point. Oh, look at this guy. There's just a lot of paint in there, so I'm soaking that up again. A lot of water in there, so I'm soaking that up. The more water you have in there, the longer it's going to take to dry. But let me just work this guy a little bit. I'm going to go back here and put a little yellow in here, just to give it a little shine from the sunshine. Okay. I'll make this guy a little darker green, and I'm just going to do it with the tip of my, went back into the puddle, the tip of my brush. Now, you have different values, so you can see just with one color, I've created different values on this leaf. So that's a lighter value and that's a darker value. And that just means it has more pigment. And you could even do the entire leaf in different values of the same color. Like this. I just feel like I want a little bit more color in mine, that's all. But that's totally up to you. Yeah. Taking that purple color, which I kind of like. I like the purple or the blue. I like all of these colors. Just you use the colors you like. Again, there I went outside the lines a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna do some yellow because I like, oh, my petal's drying up, so I need some more water for my yellow petal. They dry up all the time. Oh, see, and that was too much water because that's water on the top dripped down. Fix that guy. Okay, again, this is a two fur. This is a two fur over here, so I'm gonna let this dry. And then I'm gonna put some water in here, this guy. Oh, see again, there's a little bit of yellow. I didn't dry it off completely. That's okay. Some people have two totally different jars of water. One to use to put on for the wet to start with, and then one for their color, their paints. But, you know, this just adds dimension. Again, I'm going to start with my green. Look at how it just runs into that. See if you lift your paper up, you can see how the water will drip down as well. The more water you have, the more and the more slanted, the more it'll drip down. Okay, I know I want a little bit more green in there. And I'm gonna do colors again. This time I'm gonna mix the blue and the purple. Okay, and see, look at, I've got way too much water in there. I'm gonna soak some of that up, and if it's not enough, I'm just gonna take my paper towel. Look at what happens when I do that. That's, your paper towel is also your friend. I'm going to go back in there with my green. And my blue and purple. Kind of makes a bit of a mud color, but let's separate them. Okay, just adding a little bit of curves in here because that adds some flow to the leaf. Okay. Now we're gonna come back to this guy here, even though he's not totally dry, but I'm gonna add some water because one way that you can dry, if you're in a hurry, dry your paint is with a hairdryer. I'm not totally touching the colors, and besides which, sometimes the running into one another looks really cool. This one I'm going to leave some white there so that it doesn't fully bleed into it. Kind of like that yellow dry running in. I just started. Okay, let's see. Oh, I did it again. I didn't clean my brush. Bad habit. Before I went into the yellow, and so it's getting murky. Oh, I like that a lot. But I am going to put, oh, I think I'll put some red in here, just along the edge here. Yeah, so that'll differentiate quite a bit with this one here, with the one below the leaf that's above it, actually. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Okay, and now, because I didn't do these guys up here, I just wanted to sort of check out what colors I was going to do before I did these. I'm going to do these guys because they're smaller. I'm going to do them wet on dry. I'm just going to take put my brush in tap it in my puddle. And then I'm going to just paint on the leaf part like that. You can see there's lots of water, and we're going to come back to that and get some of that out. And this guy here. Here we go. Now, if you feel there's too much water in there, again, dry off your brush and watch how it soaks up the water. Dry off your brush, soak up the water. Dry off your brush, soak up the water, but I want some additional colors in here because I like it. Texture and dimension. Always looking for texture and dimension. I'm just going to tap it with my point of my brush. Okay, there we go. Wow. All right. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use the very tip of my brush to add some, maybe just a little bit of dimension on here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the dark green with a little bit of that burnt orange. Green, so that it gives us sort of a darker brown red, and I'm going to use this as the stem. Okay, now be careful again when putting your hand down. Sometimes you have to just hold your hand up. Use your baby finger as a stabilizer. So let's see. Yeah, look at that. That's kind of cool. Just using, and sometimes you just want to bring it into the bottom of that leaf and look at if it's still wet. It seeps right in there. Yes. Don't worry about a steady hand because branches are not straight. And if you go outside the lines, you can always erase your pencil later. Okay, see how I'm just kind of making that vein in there with the same color that I'm using on the stem. Is that cool or what? Yeah. There we go. You can make your stem as thick or as skinny as you want. Yeah, there's a little bit of thickness in there. Make it thicker at the bottom, going back in. Just picking that up right here. There we go. There we go. Okay. Just depends on how you like your stems and your branches and how you want it to look. Here, I'm gonna soak some in there for sure. Okay, you're about to hear my dog bark. You can hear her growling because my grandbaby dog just came upstairs. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Okay, I didn't like how thick this one is, so I'm gonna dab this one, and then I'm gonna go back into my paint and just, there we go. There we go. Okay, Shug, it's okay. All right. Oh, and this one. It's easy to miss. Okay, and then we'll let it dry. And you'll see that it'll look almost completely different in the morning. You'll see that it within 24 hours, it's gonna pop. And the final touches are date it and sign it. 01/13/24. There you go. I'm excited for you.